I have always knew that Skytube figures will become very rare and expensive right after release. So I pre-ordered this one on day 1 she went on pre-order. After Ami shipped out this figure, 3 days later, it arrived in the customs department and that figure disappeared from tracking results. Hi and welcome back to the channel. Steven right here today with a topic I have always wanted to bring up for a while, just a part of my personal journey in the hobby of collecting anime figures for the past 15 years or so, right? So for today, I'm going to discuss about the figures I regretted selling. Yeah, there will be another video on the figures I regretted buying, that is for much later. So over the course of 15 years of collecting, one would expect that I would have purchased a lot of figures over the years, even if I bought only one figure in a single month, which is true, I bought a lot. The problem was that no, it is not necessarily about space, though space was part of the issue. I had to clear out space, I had to sell off some older stuff, but one of the main motivations why I collected figures was because I loved photography, you see. So I would go out and buy a figure where I see potential in photographing the anime figure in a diorama, and after I'm done, I would just sell it off without thinking twice, right? A lot of the figures I sold fall under this category actually, more than half of them. So I'm going to tell you guys the history of every figure over here which I regretted selling. I wish that I would still have them today, but it is either really difficult to find one now, they have become very rare and expensive, or yeah, they are actually widely available, but I don't really feel the urge to buy anymore, which maybe it meant that maybe it is not that big of a regret at all, especially the last 2 figures, right? So there are a total of 15 figures. The first 3 figures are from the Fate series, and the first one is perhaps my biggest regret of the 3. Jack the Ripper Assassin from Fate Apocrypha by Fate Company. This one came out long ago, back in year 2015 for only 9,500 yen, and she was never re-released. Yeah, she is going for 48,000 yen in Animorta, but Animorta, yeah, Ninin game as well, 49,000 yen also. The cheapest you can find this figure, from what I remember, is 30,000+ yen. And would I pay that kind of money for this old figure today? No, I don't think so. Even though I really regretted selling it, to fund newer purchases. Back then, 2010s, I was a college student with very limited budget. So in order to afford the new stuff, yeah, I was forced to sell a lot of things actually. This was one of them. But today, if I were to drop 40+ thousand yen on a new figure, I would rather go for the newer figures, which would, I would be able to make content out of on YouTube. Or I would go for third-party resins, right? Yeah, Honkai stuff, Genshin stuff, for example. So, 40,000 yen, no. I would rather buy Altus Schwartz from Arknights. Yeah, just an example. Why did they not re-release this figure? I think maybe Jack the Ripper is not that popular, right? As a Fate character, probably that is the case. Now, for a Fate Company figure, this was actually quite well made. This was a good buy back then, and it's still a good buy today if you can find one at a normal price, right? This was one of my old photography works, right, from year 2015 or so. Yeah, and I am not proud of this. This photo looks terrible, and if I have the opportunity to, I want to redo the photography work of this figure today. I want to redo it. This was a really old photo. I think when I was barely 1 year or 2 years into the hobby of photographing anime figures. The second one, I would say this is quite the regret as well. Tamam Cat from Max Factory. Okay, this one is not exactly as hard to find if I were to buy one again today, but I can still expect to pay like 25,000 yen, which is really expensive because for a 1/7 scale figure, surprisingly, this Tamamo is quite small, like 21 centimeters, 21, 22. It is very small for a 1/7 scale, and the box was also tiny. I sold it because, I had this mentality back then where I just want to photograph figures, beautiful figures, and once I'm done, I would sell it in order to afford new figures that I want to photograph, right? So this was the photography work I came up with back then. I still love this photo a lot today. The same exact setup as Shuten Doji, but instead of nighttime, it is daytime. Yeah. So I'm proud of this photograph over here, and it won Picture of the Day and Picture of the Week on myfigurecollection.net back in October and September 2019. So that was almost 5 years ago already, right? Yeah, if I could have this figure for a bit cheaper, yes, I would buy it again, even though I sold it back then, right? Moving on to the third one, Aquamarine's Nero Claudius or Saber Extra. Okay, this one, I don't think there will be a re-release again because Aquamarine went bankrupt. And this was one of those few figures that I bought one solely because I was attracted to the potential of this figure in photography, right? Like this is a very photogenic figure, but the photography was a bit of a disappointment to me. Like I could not get it to look like what I want her to look like in photographs, and then I did not have the courage to share my photos. Like I was not proud of it. And then after I have figured out how to edit the photograph, I only shared the photos with everyone more than a year later, which by then I have already sold the figure, right? This was the one right here. Yeah, a lot of people told me like this is one of my better works out there. Maybe, I don't know. So this photo, I wish that I could redo it again and refine things a bit further, but I have sold the figure already. This is Picture of the Day in October 2021. Do I want to buy this figure over again? Simply because I am a Fate series collector now. I think I have gotten over it. Like, yeah, it would be nice if I still have her today, but I don't think I would buy it again. The two figures that I would buy over again if the prices were more reasonable, yeah, Tamam Cat and also Jack the Ripper. But this Nero over here, I think, yeah, so be it. I would rather focus on the new stuff because there are too many great new figures. Why obsess over the older stuff, right? Okay, moving on to the next one, we have something from No Game No Life, Shiro from Fats Company. You see, I have started to realize that a lot of the stuff I sold are from Fats Company. With this Shiro, I think she went for around 16,000 yen back then, which was expensive, but I thought it was great value because you're getting one skill figure and 4 chibi figures for 16k. And this was one of very few Fats Company figures that turned out to be borderline perfect. No quality control issues. Yeah, back in the early and mid 2010s, Fat QC was horrid. Yeah, the word I would use to describe Fat back then was horrid, but this one turned out almost perfect. And once again, I sold it simply because I needed to fund new purchases, you see. I was a college student back then, mid-2010s. I was relying on my pocket money, saving up bit by bit just to afford 1 or 2 skill figures every few months, It was really a sad thing. And this Shiro, even if I were to find one today, I were to buy a Shiro figure today, I don't think I would go for this one anymore because by today, there are so many new No Game No Life figures. The one by Kadokawa, the one by Good Smile and so on. They are beautiful figures. So yeah, I'm good. I would go for the newer stuff if I were to buy a new Shiro figure today. Like the one made by Eastream, that thing went to 80,000 yen within a week after release. 80,000 yen, right? There are better stuff today. Okay. So this was the photography work I did on that Shiro figure. Yeah, this is a complete rip-off of a movie poster. What was the name of the title again? I can't remember. I'll just put it on screen. This was a rip-off, but I liked how it turns out, you see. So this photograph on myfigurecollection.net, this was, yeah, Picture of the Day in July 2016. And as you can see, the brother is enjoying the view from below. The next one, also No Game No Life, Jibril from Fats Company as well. Same reason. I bought it because of the chibi figure and the props she came with, and I sold it because I needed to fund a new purchase. I think I sold this figure on myfigurecollection.net's marketplace to a German buyer, if not mistaken. Right? Same thing with Shiro. If I were to buy a new Jibril figure today, I think I would go for the Good Smile one, the lolly version, where she is swinging and a scythe, because that is such a dynamic pose. I like dynamic figures. However, this Jibril today is super rare, super expensive. If I remember correctly, I did not bother to check the market price. J figure is asking for 35,000 yen, you see? Yeah, Compared to Shiro, there are not many Jibril figures in comparison. This is still one of the best if you could afford one today. They are the kind of figures where I don't miss them that much today, even though I sold them, but I really wish that I still have them on my shelf. Seriously, right? Moving on to the next one, Insane Black Rock Shooter by Good Smile. Okay, this one is quite legendary, you see. This figure came out almost more than 10 years ago, 2013, September. Okay, with Insane BRS, this figure until today, it was the 1/8 scale figure. Between 1/8 and 1/7, these two scales, this figure had the largest box of all. I think my Soji Okita Third Ascension by Good Smile, yeah, the FGO figure is really close, or maybe that box is bigger than IBRS, I can't remember anymore since I don't have her anymore. This was one of the biggest boxes I owned for 1/8 and 1/7 figures. I sold it because once again, I needed to fund new purchases. The thing with Insane BRS is that I'm sure this won't be re-released again, right? Because IBRS is not as popular as other versions of Black Rock Shooter, because she looks really evil over here. It is an acquired taste. And this figure, do you know how much I paid for her back 10 years ago? For a figure as massive as my Soji Okita? $120 including shipping. Yes, in today's currency, $120 for this IBRS including shipping. It was an absolute bargain, and when I sold the figure several years later, it was for the same amount. So I did not lose a single cent selling this one, but if I had to choose, I would rather not sell it if I were to think about it today. Yeah. Or otherwise, I could sell it today and pocket a huge handsome profit for it, because this one is really rare as well. There we go, J figure is asking for 43,000, 44,000 yen for this one. And that is not the worst part, this thing is massive. Yeah, you can expect to spend 5 digits in yen to ship this thing from Japan to US, for example. Yeah, so before you go out and buy this one, remember this thing is massive. I don't think I have any photography works on this one because this was really huge and difficult to shoot, and I did take pictures of this figure, but I wasn't proud of it. I did not upload it online. I don't want to show it to anyone. Okay, moving on to the next one. This is also one of my big regrets. 1/4 scale Momobilia Devolution from To Love Go. This is 1/4 scale by Freeing. Nowadays, I don't collect 1/4 scales, or rather, it is not a major focus of mine. I wouldn't mind picking up a few. But I used to own this figure of Momo because I am a big fan of To Love Ro, and Momo is one of my favorite characters in this harem series, right? And then at one point, I told myself, you have too many To Love Ro figures. Sell off some of them, you don't need that many. And I sold off the Max Factory Bride series wedding dress, which I don't regret selling at all. But this one, I do have a bit of lingering regrets because predictably, she became extremely rare, and if you were to get one today, it is the Barrelix no stocking version. I owned the stocking version and I sold her to a Canadian friend of mine. Yeah, shipped her all the way to Canada from Southeast Asia, you see. Sold it to my friend. At least I know that she is in very good hands. That guy, my Canadian friend, he is way more hardcore than me, right? She has a way bigger budget than I do. Okay, so with this Momo, I do have a photography work over here, but before that, she came out in year 2017, and J figure is asking for 45,000 yen, which isn't that bad, I think. I mean, nowadays, a new 1/4 scale is going for 40k already. Yeah, so I had a very simple photo of Momo over here. Yeah, I love this picture. I shot this one outdoors, and this one won... Yeah, picture of the day, July 2017. That umbrella over there, I think that is for Dolphys, if I'm not mistaken, 1/3 scale, right? So you can find that mini umbrella on Taobao, for example. Yes, owning too many To Love Ro figures was more of an excuse in trying to justify selling her off. Meanwhile, I am conveniently ignoring the fact that I'm buying too many Saberface and Scarhawk figures from FGO. What can you do? Okay, moving on to the next one. There are two Kasugano Sora figures. Both are from Alter. The first one is this bunny style version. Yeah, this was a beautiful Sora figure. I bought it simply because of photography, and then, you know, I emotionlessly sell it off after I'm done with photography, which is quite a shame because this is an amazing figure when I think about it. And given that this is 1x7 scale, she would fit in nicely with many other 1x7 scale figures today, including my outer 1x7 scale Skahak Bunny version, you see. So this was the photography work I did for this figure. This is picture of the day and picture of the week as well, May 2017. Okay. And this diorama setup over here, it is still in my storage in my studio, and I am planning to bring it out for a new figure project sometime this year. If you want to pick one up and the price isn't too bad, go for it. Oh, 33,000 yen. This was 14,000 yen back then, man. Now she has more than doubled, predictably. Okay, moving on to the next one. Black China dress version. This is the limited edition and the second color. There are two color versions of this Chinese dress, Kasugano Sora. You see, this is the regular version, which I did not like because I thought the color was too bland. Like there is too much white color given that her hair is also almost white color. But I was fortunate to get my hands on the limited black edition for about $60 back then. 60 to 70 US dollars. It was crazy. Yeah, I think I paid like 70 US dollars for her back then. And I sold it once again because of budget issues as a college student. Very sad, isn't it? Yeah, this came out in 2015 and it was even re-released once in year 2016, you see. And today she is going for, well, not bad, 23,000 yen or pre-owned, new 31,000 yen. Yeah. The next one, this figure of Togetsu Matsuri 1x6 scale by Skytube. This one is the craziest of all in terms of my story of ownership of this figure, right? Let me share something insane with you. Okay, I regret selling this figure simply because of all of the BS I went through with this figure when buying it. This thing is astronomical in price nowadays if you were to look for one. But I could always go and buy other ecchi figures by Native, right? So it is not that bad of a thing, but this figure's insane history, let me share it with you guys. I have always knew that Skytube figures will become very rare and expensive right after release. So I pre-ordered this one on day one. She went on pre-order, waited patiently, and when finally the figure was released, I paid for EMS shipping from Japan to Malaysia, right? And did you know what happened? After Ami shipped out this figure, 3 days later, it arrived in the customs department in my state. Over here in Penang state, it arrived at Butterworth, Penang, the customs department, and that figure disappeared from tracking results. And what happened later on is even crazier. So when the figure has disappeared from the tracking results for a few days, I was starting to sweat. I called the customs department, I called the post office at Butterworth, and they told me, no, your item isn't here. Maybe the item has been passed on to your local post office in my district over here. Fine. So I called the local post office, which they never picked up my phone call. I went to the post office in person, and the post office told me, no, your item isn't here. The item is still at customs department in Butterworth because you need to pay a tax for it. Since this thing exceeded a certain amount, right? Fine. So it is at customs. I paid the customs department a visit in person, and the result was not fruitful at all. They checked everything. They said the parcel is not at the customs. It is not at the post office at Butterworth either. So what? Let me recompose myself, right? This was something major in my journey of collecting anime figures. So what was happening was that the post office in my district and the post office at Butterworth plus the customs department over there are playing pinball, pushing the blame on each other that the parcel is at your place, not mine, right? Which means the parcel has been lost. It is missing. EMS parcel arrived at customs and it went missing. Do you know what I believe has happened? Someone stole my parcel. right? It could be the postman. It could be someone in the customs department who knows the content of the parcel, since it is from Ami Ami. Ami Ami is like one of the most famous Japanese stores out there. Someone stole my parcel. I'm quite certain of it. There is no way a figure would just disappear like that after arriving in customs hands. Someone stole my figure, right? And of course, I proceeded to lodge a missing parcel report trying to claim insurance because there is insurance for EMS. Thank God I went for EMS, because if I shipped by cell or even air small packet, the insurance coverage for cell is 6,000 yen maximum. That was back then. I don't know the amount today, but cell insurance is maximum 6,000 yen, you see. EMS covers up to 20,000 yen. Yeah, that was years ago. This figure was around 16,000 yen or so, including shipping, so EMS would have covered this figure completely. However, the problem wasn't the insurance coverage, you see. So what if I get refunded 16,000 yen? Because at the point of the parcel going missing, several days after release, she has already gone up to 25,000 yen minimum. Yes, she was sold out in Ami Ami, and if I were to look at other figure websites that still have her, it was minimum 25k. Even if I got my reimbursement from insurance at 16,000 yen, I have to fork out more for a figure which I shouldn't have paid more for in the first place because I got her in an early bird pre-order. Yes, I proceeded to lodge a complaint with the local post office and customs, and their response made me even more furious. Do you know what they tell me? Yes, we can investigate this case for you, but we can't promise how long it will take because we have a lot of missing parcels to search for. That is what they told me. Oh, you guys are so great at your job that you are losing so many parcels, you have to investigate so many cases. EMS, bro, EMS. At that point, after lodging a complaint with the local post office, I have lost my trust in them completely. My next move, know what did I do? I went back home. I searched for literally every single Japanese website I could think of. Like, which one still has this figure? And then I proceeded to withdraw my savings. Yeah, my little savings left over. And I finally found this figure in stock in this website called nipponyasan.com. Nippon Yasan has gone bankrupt. They have shut down because of the pandemic. That is a story for another day. I found this figure at recommended retail price MSRP price in Nippon Yasan, and I quickly bought another one. That one, I shipped it via, was it DHL or FedEx? I can't remember. I opted for some other shipping methods. I received her safely, right? And by the time I received this second figure safely from Nippon Yasan, there were no news at all from a local post office about a week or 2 weeks into investigating this figure. There was no news at all, right? So my decision was that I lodged a complaint with Ami Ami. I emailed Ami Ami. I said that EMS lost my parcel and I want to claim insurance or whatever because the local post office haven't been very helpful, and Ami Ami gave me the best ever customer service I would ever see from a figure store, right? Nowadays in year 2020s, yeah, after the pandemic, it is a completely different story, but back then, Ami Ami's customer service was top notch, you see? So Ami Ami, they assisted me in the insurance claim. They helped me file for insurance claim from Japan Post when it was Post Malaysia that lost my parcel. You see? And 3 months later, I got a full refund, including a shipping cost from Japan Post. Once again, Japan Post compensated me over 16,000 yen for a parcel that Post Malaysia lost. Yeah. The only slight negative with this whole insurance claim thing was that number one, it took over 3 months, and number two, Ami Ami refunded me in Ami Ami points, where 1 point equals to 1 yen. I wasn't that mad with this because I have other pre-orders and I can use that point to pay for other pre-orders, so all is good, right? I wasn't that bothered with the Ami Ami point thing. So to think about all of the mess I went through for this one figure, it is crazy to think that I would go ahead and sell her several years later after owning this figure. Maybe I've fallen out of love with this figure, I no longer like her as much anymore, and some new ecchi figure attracted me a bit more, so I sold her for another ecchi figure. That was one of the most plausible reasons why I would even sell this thing. When I went through so much BS to get my hands on this figure, so much mental stress and so on, right? And until today, that missing figure from Ami Ami has never been found. Yeah, someone stole it. I guarantee you someone stole that figure. Yeah. So, I suppose that out of the 15 figures I regret selling that I'm mentioning today, this one is the craziest of all. The backstory of it. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Fat's Company again. Jogasaki Mika from Idolmaster. You see, this figure was around 12,000 yen, at least 10 years old by now. And back then, I loved Idolmaster. I bought quite a number of Idolmaster figures, but then several years later, I started selling them because I lost interest. This Jogasaki Mika was one of them, and this was also one of Fat's Company's best figures back then, 10 years ago, when they released this figure. This one barely had any QC issues, you see. And I loved Jogasaki Mika as a character, as the character design itself, which is why I bought this figure. Today, I only have one single Idolmaster figure left in my collection, which is Altus Kanzaki Ranko. Yeah, that epic huge figure. I still have that one, but I sold off the rest. I wish that I still have this figure today, and I do believe this one was re-released once, right? Oh no, she was never re-released. Okay, yeah, this came out in year 2014. And to share with you guys my photography work, oh yeah, firstly we take a look at the market value. She is now going for 20,000 yen, which isn't too bad to be honest. 20,000 yen. Okay, I got rid of the base, you see. I put her on a motorcycle. This is a really old photo. This photo is 9 years old, I think, right? This was my photography work. And this one won Picture of the Day, I think. Was it? Oh no, it did not win anything, but that is fine. I still like this photo even today. Moving on to the next one, Hatsune Miku Harvest Moon version by Good Smile. This is quite recent. Yeah, 2018. So, this is far from the best Miku figure. Nowadays, the newer Miku figures coming out in the past year or two, they have crazy amounts of detail. But this Miku figure, how do I put it? It is quite aesthetic in a way that as a photographer, I loved it so much that I bought this figure solely for photography, and after I'm done with photography, I sold it. Right? However, I do admit that I wish that I still have that figure around because I could photograph her more often. Okay, so this one was almost 12,000 yen, came out in year 2018, and nowadays, she is fairly affordable, can find her for 23,000 yen. Yeah, it is almost double of her release price 5 or 6 years ago, and will I buy it again today? No, because there are better Miku figures coming out in the recent year or two. I would focus on something newer as a content creator for YouTube, right? Sharing with you guys my photography work, yeah, this one. So this thing, I imported it from China. This whole diorama. Not the diorama, only the round cutout. I imported it from China from a prop maker. I outsourced the prop making for this one. And this picture won Picture of the Day, Picture of the Week, Picture of the Month, December 2018, right? Yeah. Every time I look at this photo, it tells me you shouldn't have sold this figure because she is quite pretty on her own, right? Okay, moving on to the next one. Yasuhara Emma from Shiro, 1x8 scale by Alter. Okay, this one came out in year 2017 for 12,000 yen. This figure of Yasuhara Emma is pretty generic, right? Normally, I wouldn't even bother with buying a figure like this, and the only reason I bought one is because once again, I have an epic idea for figure photography, right? I have an epic idea that I am very certain, like 100% certain, this would win me a gold badge in my figurecollection.net. Picture of the Month, POTM. And it did happen after I uploaded my photography work, which is this one. This one, POTM. Yeah. All 3 badges, POTM April 2017. It's like it was completely predictable. Given the idea I had in mind, I just spam detail. And I took inspiration from the anime Shiro, right? There was one season and a movie It is not the kind of anime everyone will like. It is something to do with the anime industry in general. If you want to take a look in the anime industry, what goes on behind the scenes of the production of an anime, I suggest you go and watch Shiro. Some people find it boring. I enjoyed it. Seriously, I really enjoyed it, right? Moving on to the next one, Ariri, Saura Spencer Ariri from Saekano by Good Smile. Okay, this figure was re-released in 2019. She is not too expensive. If you were to look for one today, I think you can get one for around $150 or so. Yeah, I sold it to a friend of mine in my country, in Malaysia, because I was planning to sell all three of my Saekano figures, Megumi and also Utaha, right? But out of the three, Ariri is the most popular one, so naturally, she is the one to be sold first. And Megumi Kato and Utaha is still sitting around in my home, at my home actually. I haven't sold those two yet because there were no takers. And Megumi Kato was re-released, making it harder to sell a pre-owned unit from the first release, right? This is my photography work on this figure of Ariri, and as you can see, I made use of those chibi figures from that Shiro figure earlier, which I also regretted selling, right? This photo is a bit legendary in the sense that not only it won Picture of the Month in June 2016, this photo until today, 8 years later, it is still the highest rated picture in entire myfigurecollection.net website. Yes, this is the highest ranking picture in the entire MFC. So you go to pictures and you click browse, right? Okay, and then right side, top right corner, filters. You filter the picture by popularity. Alright. I have 2 photos in top 3. Let's make it 3 photos in top 5, right? So this Ariri is first ranking. Second photo over here, Frau Kojiro in 3rd place, and 5th place there is this figure of Master Artorias Saber from me as well 7 years ago in 5th place. So I have 3 pictures in top 5 MFC most popular ever. How is popularity determined in myfigurecollection.net? Number of points, you see. This Ariri has 30,300 points, which is the highest in the entire website. Yeah. So this figure is special to me mainly for this reason. I had massive success with this figure as a content creator, as a figure photographer, and I think I shouldn't have sold it. Yeah. Fortunately, not too difficult to find. This Ariri is my 15th figure I just covered. Yeah, the 15 figures I regret selling the most. Well, what about the bonus item I mentioned at the early part of this figure? That bonus 1 figure. Yeah, this figure of Kaori by Good Smile from Your Lie in April. But it is not so much of a regret now that she is getting re-released later this year, right? Yeah. So just a quick share with you guys my photography work on this one. This is a direct reference of the anime, right? This was the photography work I did with this figure. Yeah, back then I bought figure just to do photos and then I would sell them. This figure of Kaori wasn't too different, and of course this one won Picture of the Month as well, April 2017. It has to be April, right? And that is all for the figures I regretted selling, 15 of them plus 1 bonus. Are there any figures which you sold because you don't have a choice? Maybe it was budget, maybe because you ran out of space in a room and you had to sell it, but you actually regret doing so because you liked the figure so much. Share it with me in the comments below. I would love to hear your story as well. Yeah, that Togetsu Matsui figure earlier, that was an insane story when I think about it. Until then, if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel for anime figure contents every week. Until then, I'll see you guys again really soon. Goodbye.